Hello there folks, I'm the Lon Chaney Reviewer, and welcome to Silent Film Saturday, episode number 22. Today, I shall be reviewing the third place film on the voting poll that I posted a few weeks ago, trying to find the 19th episode of Silent Film Saturday. And first place ended up being a tie between Shadows and Outside the Law, simply because it was a double feature. So that got to be the 19th and the 20th episode. Episode 21, which was last week, was Girl Shy. And this week, in third place with 9 votes, is the 1924 Douglas Fairbanks epic, The Thief of Baghdad. Okay, so for supplements, this is the Kino edition of the film. The Cohen film edition of the film has different supplements, or some different supplements. The supplements in this film include a filmed introduction by Orson Welles, 19 minutes of rare outtakes, rare special effects footage, an excerpt of Paul Lenny's Waxworks, which was an inspiration for Thief of Baghdad, excerpt of George Méliès's Arabian Nights, excerpts from the Souvenir Program, of course the newly remastered archival print and orchestral score adapted from the 1924 cue sheets. So the supplements on this are pretty decent, but I'm sure the Cohen film edition has some really excellent supplements, as far as I've read. Now, The Thief of Baghdad has a relatively, what we might consider a basic story. It's a journey of a hero who starts out in an unlikely spot, but ends up becoming a great hero. In this case, it's the thief, played by Douglas Fairbanks. This character is very likable, and he's able to trick other, officials and characters we may or may not like. For example, he steals the purse of another man, and he takes all the money out of it, and then when they question Fairbanks to see if it's his purse or not, he answers there's nothing in the purse, and sure enough, they believe him, and thus he's able to keep the purse and keep the money. And he's deceitful in the beginning, but he's very likable. He's doing this to survive, and he takes what he wants because it's right in front of him, and he doesn't believe in, the adage that's stated at the beginning of the film, which is happiness must be earned. And that's the main theme of this film, is the fact that happiness does not come from just getting things or just people giving them to you. It comes from hard work and determination. And that's what the character of, I believe it's Ahmed, as he's called in the film. I'm just going to call him the thief. The thief character eventually learns this and realizes that he just can't just take things for himself without paying for them. He has to work hard for them, and in the end, he shall be rewarded. Now, of course, Douglas Fairbanks is the lead in this film. It's a Douglas Fairbanks film, directed by Raoul Walsh, who also appeared on Silent Film Saturday in The Birth of a Nation. And Douglas Fairbanks is one of my favorite silent or sound performers. He's incredibly engaging on screen. He might not be the best actor. I'm not saying he's a terrible actor, but what he does on screen, what he does on screen works for the character. He doesn't waste time. It's entertaining, it's energetic, and it's compelling. And that's the least you can ask for in a silent film performance. And he excels on those levels, making him one of my favorites from this era. Other performances of note, we have Noble Johnson playing one of the other 3 suitors. Now, before I get into that, the other part of this story involves basically Ahmed falls in love with a beautiful princess, and he pretends to be a prince, and there's 3 other suitors. You have the Prince of Persia, the Mongol prince, and the Indies prince. And the Indies prince is played by Noble Johnson, who is in many films, and is also in one of my favorite films of all time, King Kong, as the native chief. You also have Anna May Wong in this film, who plays the role of the Mongol slave, a very interesting character, and she basically works in cahoots with the Mongol prince, played by Sojin Kamiyama, who is in one of my all-time favorite films, Seven Samurai, with a review which you should check out on the channel. Second favorite film of all time. He plays the blind guitar player in that film. In this film, he plays the ruthless, cunning Mongol prince. But I just want to touch base more on Anna May Wong. Anna May Wong is a great performer. She also appeared on Silent Film Saturday, Mr. Wu, a very long time ago. I believe this is only her second appearance on Silent Film Saturday, so yeah, that was a while ago. She's an excellent actress. First off, she's incredibly attractive, but also she's able to convince you that she's this character who's willing to portray her princess because she's a Mongol slave. She's a slave to the royalty in Baghdad, and she wants the Mongol prince to take over Baghdad, so that way she can gain her freedom, which makes her a very interesting and complicated character, and it shows you that these films weren't just about the visuals and the main star power, but it's also some really nice other supporting characters, even though Anna May Wong is a, well-known silent performer, of course. Like I said earlier, there's an orchestral score from the original cue sheets, and the score works rather well. The Cohen Media release of the film contains a score by Carl Davis, one of my personal favorite composers, and I really like to check that one out. So I'll talk about that one another day regardless. The visual effects in The Thief of Baghdad are jaw-dropping, to say the least. Of course, it's really the true star of the film are the visual effects. You have these obviously you have like your builded structures which look so surreal, but it looks so wondrous and magical. You have your hanging miniatures and matte paintings of the palaces and the city structure, so gorgeous, by the way. And there's some really odd images, like you have the doors that are appear to be like jaws, and they have like these teeth, and they look like they come from all sides, and they close up the door. You have tigers walking around. You have pots, and pots in certain places. Fairbanks jumping off of trees and climbing up trees. You have beautiful veils that cover certain scenes. You have fanfare of men marching with packages, and not packages but like gifts, and carrying the princes. And then you have some of the final acts, which you have the magic carpet, just dazzling scene. You have the flying horse, which might not be up to today's standards, but at the time that must have blown audiences' minds 90 years ago. Still rather incredible. Anyway, then you have like the creatures that he fights, which my favorite has to be this alligator creature, because it has like the smoke coming out of its nostrils, and Fairbanks stabs the creature and blood pours out. I love stuff like that. Especially when you watch a silent movie, to see such a massive epic. And it all helps for the sake of the story and storytelling of the motion picture. Towards the third act of this film, Douglas Fairbanks has to fight off a bunch of creatures. And one of my favorite creatures is like this alligator dragon looking thing, which these creatures aren't the most realistic, but the creature has like smoke, steam coming out of its nostrils. And when Douglas Fairbanks cuts the creature at one point, it bleeds. And I really love that. It's a nice little sense of detail. It's not just, stab and whatever. No, it's like stab and blah. I love stuff like that, and I was just so engaged, and it was exciting. And that reminds me, there's an underwater sequence where it's just like looks like these jellyfish looking places, cities, like painting, and gorgeous. I had to mention that. You have to, like I said, it's a very visual film, so you have to see it in order to believe it. And it's very thrilling to just see practical effects on the screen, things that are actually, like in front of you, and not like a digital thing that's been added later, which I'm not trying to knock digital effects, it's just really nice to see practical ones. Thief of Baghdad. Now, first time I watched it, interestingly enough, I was not a big fan of this film. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the running time, and it was maybe one of the earlier silent films I watched. I don't know what it was, but the second time I watched this, I was just so enchanted and enthralled by the visual flair and the performance by Douglas Fairbanks that I just fell in love with it. And what makes it better is that it has a great remake. The Thief of Baghdad from 1940, produced by Alexander Korda, starring Sabu, Rex Ingram, and Conrad Veidt, which is a great musical score by Miklos Roja, won Academy Awards for effects and other technical awards, and I love that film to death. It's a great movie. It's available in the Criterion Collection as a 2-disc DVD. I highly recommend that one, but I also recommend The Thief of Baghdad from 1924. Excellent movie with an excellent performance by Douglas Fairbanks, great performance by Anime Wong, as well as Shojin Kamiyama. And just visually, it's one of the most impressive silent films, or even just films, I've ever seen in my life. I highly recommend it. This film is so enchanting that I really want to take an enchanting magic carpet ride into this film very soon. Next week, I shall be talking about the 1921 comedy masterpiece from Charlie Chaplin, The Kid. See you next week.